very few things in this country galvanize public opinion like someone trying to mess around with people's preferences in the bedroom. I'm talking, of course, about what they watch on late-night television. And NBC found that out a few months ago when Conan O'Brien, the newly installed host of The Tonight Show, quit after the network announced it was going to push The Tonight Show into tomorrow and to give its traditional time slot back to O'Brien's predecessor, Jay Leno. It triggered a lot of bad publicity for NBC, an outpouring of public support for Conan, and some of the best late-night jokes in a decade. Conan walked away with a $32 million settlement and a new cable show, and NBC did its best to push him into oblivion, legally prohibiting him from saying anything false or disparaging about the network and from giving interviews or appearing on television until now. If you're wondering what happened to Conan O'Brien and what he thinks about all of this, you're about to find out. So what's with the beard?
The first day that I woke up and was no longer the host of The Tonight Show, I remember the first thought I had is, I am not shaving. And that was my small victory, you know. Okay, so I lost The Tonight Show, but I'll show them I'll stop shaving. This has been quite a year. Yeah. That's it, we're done. This was a lot of fun. This year has been is still incomprehensible to me. The amount of stuff that's happened in my life in the last year is, it's going to take me a long time to process it.
After leaving The Tonight Show in January and hanging out at his home trying to figure out what he was going to do with the rest of his life, he decided the best therapy would be to get out of the house and back to work. He assembled a lot of his old staff, opened a Twitter account.
That's the tweet.
And began planning a nationwide comedy tour, something that he had never done before, and one of the few things he was allowed to do contractually.
See how things play out.
We met up with him in Seattle.
You must have been miserable the last couple of months.
I went through some stuff, and I got very depressed at times. You know, it was like a marriage breaking up suddenly, violently, quickly, and I was just trying to figure out what happened. Mm-hmm. When we started putting this tour together, it got... I started to feel better almost immediately. Mm-hmm. And then there's no better antidote to what I've just been through than to do this every night.
Ladies and gentlemen!
A little bit. Okay. Why don't you go?
You go! I can't do it!
You know, doing this tour, though, this is a huge milestone for me. This is the first time anybody has ever paid to see me. Can you believe that? Yeah. Oh, they've paid to make me go away. On the road again.
The legally prohibited from being funny on television tour has boosted his confidence, kept him relevant, and provided an outlet for him to explore his anger, disappointment, and anxiety with mostly self-deprecating humor.
My own show again. I just can't wait to have my own show again. I'd even take a primetime show that's on at 10. Anything to have my own show again.
After 40 performances in 32 cities in the U.S. and Canada, the tour will wind up next month at Radio City Music Hall in New York, right next door to NBC's corporate headquarters, where this whole late-night fiasco was cooked up.
I just want to say I couldn't be happier. You were the only choice. You were the perfect choice. You have been an absolute gentleman in private and in the press. I agree. Conan rocks. Good luck next week, my friend.
Jay, thank you for everything.
Less than 1 year after Jay Leno handed The Tonight Show off to Conan O'Brien, NBC decided to cancel Leno's disastrous primetime show and move him back into his old time period at 11:35 Eastern. Conan's Tonight Show, which was losing badly in the ratings to David Letterman, was to be bumped back to 12:05 the next morning.
Was it in the back of your mind that, look, if I don't do that well, they could just pop Leno back in?
I'm a paranoid person. And I think I'm the kind of person that can come up with lots of negative scenarios. But I remember thinking that seemed like that was a stretch, even for me.
What followed were some unpleasant discussions with NBC's West Coast brass.
It just felt like the tone went very quickly from take your time. We understand this is a tough decision to, let's go. And that probably helped me a little bit feel like, you know what, this environment doesn't feel right. And I've been with these people a long time, and I really don't like the way this is going. And when it started to get toxic and I started to feel that I'm not sure these people even really want me here, let's just, I can't do it.
Do you think they wanted you to leave?
Yeah, that's crossed my mind. I don't know how thought out this whole thing was, but if they wanted me to leave, it worked.
This was just really, really hard for him. It was watching someone's heart get broken.
Liza O'Brien, Conan's wife, was one of his main confidants and closest advisors during the debacle.
Did you approve of everything that he did?
100%, yeah.
You thought he should have left?
Absolutely.
What do you think of the way he was treated by NBC?
From my perspective, it felt like they never really gave him the job. That they said, we're going to give you this job in 5 years, and they kept him with the company, and he said, I won't go anywhere else, and I'll keep working for you, and I'm in it for the long haul, and it felt like they lost their nerve to really make a change, and that was too bad. It was a shame, because it would have been great to see what he could have done if he had their full support and had some more time.
You've got this non-disparagement agreement.
Do you have a copy? Because I haven't read it in a while.
I have
keep
a copy
one in,
somewhere in
I
my
keep
bag.
one in my wallet.
You do?
It'd be funny if
statement.
anytime people come up to me, hey, so what's the deal with Jay Leno? Hold on a second. He's a fine and good man. There we go, put that away.
Can I assume that this interview would take a different tenor if that agreement did not exist?
No, I don't think it would. The biggest thing people come up and say to me in gas stations and restaurants, I have so many people say this to me, hey, partner, you got screwed. And I always tell them, no, I didn't. I didn't get screwed. I'm fine. It didn't work out.
Well, you did get screwed.
You think I got screwed.
Well, I think most people think you got screwed. I mean, Jay Leno thinks you got screwed. Jay Leno thinks he got screwed.
How did he get screwed? Explain that part to me. I'm sorry. Jay's got The Tonight Show. I have a beard and an inflatable bat, and I'm touring city to city. Who can say who won and who lost? I'm laughing because crying would be sad.
Has Jay reached out to you?
No.
No calls.
No, I do not think I'll be hearing from him. We should get him in here.
We should.
Is there gonna be a surprise walk-on?
No.
Okay.
But he'd call if you know his number. I'm sure he'd come over.
He may have caller ID. He won't pick up.
I think Leno would say, look, I was riding high. I was number one, and I was still number one when I left, and Conan made this deal with NBC, and NBC said, okay, Jay, we're going to take you off the air in 5 years, regardless of whether you're number one or number two or what. I think he felt like he was forced out by NBC at a time when he was a strong number one and was pushed out the door. That's his argument.
It's hard for me to get inside his head and argue his side of this whole thing. Here's what I can say. I'm happy with my decision. I sleep well at night, and I, hope he's happy with his decision.
Do you think that Jay lobbied for this?
I don't know, but what I know is what happened, which is that he went and took that show back.
Do you believe he acted honorably during all of this?
I don't think I can answer that. I don't think. I can just tell you maybe how I would have handled it, and I would do it differently.
You wouldn't have come back on The Tonight Show.
If I had surrendered The Tonight Show and handed it over to somebody publicly and wished them well, and then I would not have come back 6 months later. But that's me, you know. Everyone's got their own, you know, way of doing things.
What would you have done?
Done something else, go someplace else. I mean, that's just me. You know,
He is equally disappointed with NBC, the company where he worked most of his adult life, and with NBC Universal chief Jeff Zucker, who he has known since they were classmates at Harvard.
Has Zucker called you?
No.
You haven't talked to Zucker since this offer was made to you.
That's right. You know, at some point, I'm sure I'm going to bump into these people, and, you know, I'm not sure we're going to have our arms around each other and drinking beer and singing old Irish fight songs, because I don't think they know any. But, you know, I wish, this is going to sound crazy, I do wish these people well.
Jeff Zucker was quoted as saying, at the end of the day, the viewers voted, and they didn't like Conan as the host of The Tonight Show.
Can I take back what I just said?
Do you take issue with that?
In my opinion, I don't think that's fair or accurate, but he's entitled to his opinion. I think for anyone to say that the results were in after 6 months, that doesn't ring true to me.
Oh, they said that for the first time in history, The Tonight Show was losing money.
I don't see how that's, I honestly don't see how that's possible. It's really not possible. It isn't possible.
Did you expect NBC to give you more of a chance?
Absolutely. Yes.
Do you feel like it was a failure?
My Tonight Show? No, absolutely not.
Conan does agree with NBC's comments that it was a business decision motivated by money, and he acknowledges that Leno had the more expensive contract and would have been even harder to let go.
Some people have reported that NBC would have had to pay him $150 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you look at it that way and you're working at, let's say, I don't know, you're working for General Electric, and you tell them, you know, there's this to make that guy go away, or there's this. That decision's probably pretty clear, and I think, in my gut, I honestly believe everybody knows.
Yeah.
That's what happened. They did what they had to do, and okay, I get it. And the only thing I take exception to is subsequently people saying, well, you know, Conan was losing money, and, you know, actually he was murdering cats. What? You know, whatever.
Last month, Conan finally pulled the trigger on his future, raising some eyebrows by signing on to do an 11 o'clock show for the cable channel PBS, and not with a broadcast network.
Oh, I do not look down my nose at cable, and I think anyone who does isn't paying attention to television these days, because this world is changing very quickly.
You got $30 million that you didn't have before. You got a very lucrative new gig on TBS, which has an audience that
very young audience,
custom made for you. I mean, it wasn't all bad.
That's the point I keep making. It's crucial to me that anyone seeing this take anything away from this. It's, I'm fine. I'm doing great. I hope people still find me comedically absurd and ridiculous. And I don't regret anything. I do believe, and this might be my Catholic upbringing or Irish magical thinking, but I think things happen for a reason. I really do.
I thought the Lutherans believed that.
Oh my God, it is Lutherans. Okay, I believe that if I experience any joy in life, I'll go to hell. That's what I believe. And, but you get my point.
They threw me out. It happened fast. They said, please don't let the door hit your freckled Irish ass. I hung around the house, eating frosting from a jar. I got really into Gossip Girl and sleeping in my car. Yes, I'll survive. Yes, I'll survive. Yeah, they kind of tried to kill me, but I made it out alive. I've got all my life to live. I've got so many shows to give. I'll survive. I will survive. I will survive.
What filmmaker has had 5 movies open #1 at the box office in the last 4 years? Spielberg? Tarantino? Scorsese? No. This record belongs to Tyler Perry, one of the biggest names in the movie business, yet most Americans have never heard of him. His 8 films have grossed more than $418 million, one of the highest average grosses per film in the industry, and they're just part of Perry's multi-million-dollar entertainment empire. What's made Tyler Perry guarantee box office gold is his devoted audience, largely African-American, church-going, working class, and female. Long ignored by Hollywood, they come to see something they can't get anywhere else, inspirational stories about people like themselves, and to laugh at characters like this.
Go in that room and take your medicine. You know you crazy as hell when you don't take it.
The gun-toting, wisecracking grandmother, played by Tyler Perry himself, Medea.
My soul cries out hallelujah. Thank God for saving me.
Medea is a cross between my mother and my aunt. She's the type of grandmother that was on every corner when I was growing up. She smoked, she walked out of the house with her curlers and a muumuu, and she watched everybody's kids. She didn't take no crap. She's a strong figure in where I come from, in my part of the African-American community. And I say that because I'm sure that there are some other parts of the African-American community that may be looking at me now going, who does he think he's speaking of? But for me, this woman was very, 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 very visible.
That's what Tyler Perry's work is all about, reflecting a world his audience relates to, and they show up in droves.
You heard of the horse whisperer? I'm the kid whisperer.
It's been written that Medea is one of the top 10 grossing women actresses in the country.
They weren't serious when they wrote that. Come on, come on.
But Medea's done well. She's done well by you.
Yeah, she has, she has.
So have his other popular characters, like the flamboyant Mr. Brown.
I'm Leroy Brown. Hi. My friends call me Leroy Brown. You can just call me Leroy Brown? Yeah, how you know?
But it's not just comedy. Perry's work is a gumbo of melodrama, social commentary, and inspiration.
You got the strength God gave us women to survive. You just ain't tapped into it yet.
It's a formula, one that intentionally targets women.
You're always going to see a person of faith. 9 times out of 10 it'll be a woman who has problems, who has lost faith or lost her way. There's always going to be a moment of redemption somewhere for someone.
And then there are the grittier, darker elements, the violence, especially directed at women and children, sex and child abuse, prostitution and drug use. But there's always a fairy tale ending, a happy marriage, a reconciliation, often delivered with a dose of gospel music. Although Perry's themes are universal, he's not widely known outside of his niche audience.
The average American has no idea who you are. Now, how is it possible?
I'll tell you how it's possible. It's there's this great thing called the Chitlin Circuit, which I started my shows on. And back in the day when, Ray Charles and Billie Holiday and Duke Ellington, they couldn't get into white establishments, so they went on this circuit and toured. They were huge stars in their own community, and that's pretty much my same story. I was able to build and have this amazing career among my own people, but outside of that, not a lot of people knew who I was.
Tyler Perry, superstar of the Chitlin Circuit.
That's, yeah, superstar of the Chitlin Circuit. I'll take that.
You realize what a superstar he is and how strongly the audience connects to him when he appears on stage after a performance of one of his plays. Their reaction gives you a sense of how passionate they are about it.
You make me nervous. Sit down.
But he didn't always get this kind of reaction. He got his start in theater, writing, directing, and producing plays. His first production, a gospel musical staged in Atlanta in 1992, bombed. But he kept writing and staging new plays, cultivating his audience. By the late 90s, they were selling out across the country, making big money, more than $75 million. Perry's goal? Turn those shows into movies. Hollywood's reaction? Get lost.
They didn't open the door. You had to cut a hole in the window to get in.
That's what you did.
Oh yeah, man. If you close the door on me and tell me I can't, I'm gonna find a way to get in. Yeah.
He found his way in by setting up shop in Atlanta in 2004, where he made his first film, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, using his own money.
He who has the goal makes the rules. If somebody else is going to give you the money, then they're going to be in control. They're going to own it. They're going to tell you how it goes. They're going to give you notes and give you changes. I wasn't willing to do that, so there was no other option for me.
Diary debuted at #1 in 2005, stunning Hollywood. Perry's been surprising Hollywood ever since, doing it his way. He writes, directs, and produces his movies, and all 8 of them have been major hits, including his latest, I Can Do Bad All By Myself, which opened #1 at the box office in September.
This is your dream.
Yeah. One of them.
This is Tyler Perry Studios, 31 acres of movie and television production facilities, one of the largest independently owned studios outside of Hollywood. It opened last October, financed by Perry himself, with the profits he's made from his productions. It's Perry's multi-million-dollar Magic Kingdom.
This is the back lot, and I named it 34th Street as in Miracle on 34th Street.
He makes all of his films here, releasing 2 a year, and he employs as many as 400 people.
That's the Cicely Tyson stage next to it.
It has 5 sound stages, a gym, even a chapel.
This is a wardrobe in it. There's Medea.
Where?
Up there. That's all Medea. That's where she lives between movies.
Roll sound, please. We're rolling.
When he's not making movies, this relentless multitasker is running his 2 hit sitcoms on TBS, House of Pain and Meet the Browns.
Hit him hard, really.
He has total creative control and owns everything he makes.
And we cut, very good. Thanks a lot, I'm out of here.
Tyler Perry's huge success has brought him power and even comparisons to Oprah, his friend and mentor. They've teamed up to executive produce Precious, a film about an urban teenage mother battling abuse and illiteracy, which opens in November.
Do not play him small, because he is not just some lucky, rich Negro turned black man. He is not. To be able to take what he saw as an opportunity to reach a group of people and to turn that into this multi-million, soon-to-be multi-billion-dollar enterprise is what everybody else is trying to do.
What's the connection you think Tyler Perry has with African-American women?
Well, first of all, I think he grew up being raised by strong black women, and so much of what he does is really in celebration of that. I think that's what Medea really is, a compilation of, all those strong black women that I know, and maybe you do too. And so the reason it works is because people see themselves.
This is it, this is my universe.
Perry says he's writing what he knows, writing where he comes from. He grew up working class in this tough New Orleans neighborhood.
And my heart is racing just being here. Isn't that crazy?
Why?
I don't have good memories here at all.
But it's those memories, both good and bad, that have inspired much of his work.
Mr. James is still sitting on the porch. He's watching everything. You know that boy was over there with that girl last night. So.
That sounds like one of your characters.
Yeah, man, listen, are you kidding me?
We met 2 neighbors who reminded us an awful lot of a certain grandmother.
These are the kind of women I grew up with.
Oh, yes, and Christian women.
Christian women with guns.
I mean, Christian women.
And then people wonder where Medea came from.
We crossed the street to where he used to live, and the pain of his past came back.
This is where I grew up, and I have not been in this house in years.
In this house, Perry says his father, Emmett, repeatedly beat him and his mother, Maxine. He described one time when his father whipped him with a cord until the skin came off his back, and told us when his father wasn't beating him, he was belittling him.
Your father used to warn your mother about you.
Yeah, one day I would make her cry because she would try to protect me from him.
What the you protecting him for? What are you protecting him for? This boy ain't gonna be one day gonna make you cry.
He brought us out back, showed us the cubbyhole where he would escape from his father's abuse.
This was my hideout, my safe place, you know?
When it got too much, you go in here?
Yeah, I've spent like all day in there. So I had a door there so I can go in and close myself up, you know, to be okay for a minute. Yeah.
Your father, it sounds like, can still make you feel like that boy, little boy. Now, how is it possible?
You'd have to walk that road and be that little boy. A lot of it I've put out of my mind because it was so horrific and so painful that had I not, and that's where my imagination was born. And he was losing it and saying all those things, I could absolutely be there in that room with him at the top of his lungs and go somewhere else in my head.
His faith and his mother, he says, saved him.
Sunday morning, she'd take me to church. And this is the only time I saw her smiling happy. So I wanted to know the God, this Christ that made my mother smile so much.
Perry says he's forgiven his father and come to terms with the abuse.
This is what happens. You let it destroy you, or you take it and you use it. I chose to use it, and I chose to put it in my work, and I choose to have it touch and make people understand it.
Yet there are some who don't understand Perry's work and dismiss it, many of them African Americans. They find characters like Medea and Mr. Brown demeaning caricatures, racial stereotypes.
Spike Lee has said, and I quote, "I think there's a lot of stuff out today that is coonery and buffoonery. I see ads for Meet the Browns and House of Pain, and I'm scratching my head. We got a black president, and we're going back. The image is troubling, and it harkens back to Amos and Andy."
Right.
He's talking about you.
I would love to read that to my fan base. Let me tell you what Medea, Brown, all these characters are bait. Disarming, charming, make you laugh bait. So I can slap Medea in something and talk about God, love, faith, forgiveness, family, any of those things, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that thing, you know, that pisses me off. It really does, because it's so insulting. It's attitudes like that make Hollywood think that these people do not exist, and that's why there's no material speaking to them, speaking to us.
If you came to New York this summer to see a Broadway play or a musical, chances are the one show you couldn't get tickets for was the Book of Mormon. And if you want to come and see it next summer, you would be well advised to book your reservations now. The new musical is from Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park, a show that changed the face of cable TV and is currently celebrating its 15th season. Now they're working their magic on The Great White Way with another outrageous satire. And it's not their first musical. The South Park movie included the Oscar-nominated song Blame Canada. Now, they're the toast of Broadway. This has been the scene outside the Eugene O'Neill Theater since March, as people line up for the Book of Mormon, the hottest ticket on Broadway. It has already grossed $32 million, is sold out for the next 5 months, and probably will be for years to come. And that is music to the ears of its two creators, Trey Parker on the left and Matt Stone on the right.
Were you surprised it's been so successful?
Yeah. I mean, we thought it was good. We thought, you know, the songs were really good, and but we didn't think it was going to be like this.
Hello, my name is Elder Price.
The musical is not just a satire of clean-cut, earnest Mormons with unorthodox beliefs. It's a playful send-up of all organized religion.
Hello, my name is Elder Young. Hello, did you know that Jesus lived here in the USA?
It's the story of two mismatched missionaries played by Andrew Reynolds and Josh Gad.
who were sent off to Africa to proselytize to pagans who have heard similar spiels before, with no meaningful results.
And in this part of Africa, we all have a saying. Whenever something bad happens, we just throw our hands to the sky and say, Has Adiga Ibowa.
Does it mean no worries for the rest of our days?
Kind of. We've had no rain in several days. Has Adiga Ibowa. And 80% of us have AIDS. Has Adiga Ibowa.
What the Mormons don't know, but soon will find out, is that the locals are flipping the finger at their Heavenly Father.
F you to Heavenly Father? Holy moly, I said it like 13 times!
It is rude, crude, lewd, and blasphemous, but it hasn't kept critics from proclaiming the Book of Mormon the best Broadway musical in a decade, or stop it from racking up 9 Tony Awards. And for theater-going fans of Trey Parker and Matt Stone, it's exactly what they wanted and expected from the creators of South Park.
A lot of the stuff, the subject matter we've tackled, the way we found ourselves there is simply by trying to do something that no one else has touched. And so we're like, well, there's a reason why people haven't touched that. And we're like, oh, really? Because we want to go do jokes that other people haven't done, you know?
Are there lines that you won't cross?
No. I don't, yeah, we haven't found one yet.
They're barely 40 and have already been collaborating for 20 years. They met in a film class at the University of Colorado and were partnered up to work on a project, quickly discovering that they shared a love of Monty Python and a subversive sense of humor.
What were you like back then? Really cool. It was just amazingly cool.
Most popular guys at CU.
Do you remember what the attraction was?
I just remember that our senses of humor were just so similar that we would just really crack each other up, and it got really annoying for everyone else in film school.
Watch out for that bear trap. What?
At ages 19 and 20, they raised $100,000 to make a movie about a Colorado prospector named Alfred Packer, who was forced to dine on his colleagues while snowbound in the mountains.
That's all we're asking for.
Cannibal, the musical, was rejected by the Sundance Film Festival, but Parker and Stone went anyway and held guerrilla screenings in a hotel conference room.
Did the film get released?
Mm-hmm.
Basically,
yeah,
on video.
I guess that's what you could call it, a release.
I can buy it on Amazon.com?
Yeah, I bet you can.
You might not want to pay more than $1 for it, but
you may not like the price.
They moved to Hollywood and spent 3 whole years as starving young artists until a studio executive gave them $1,200 and asked them to make a video Christmas card that he could send to his friends.
We went back to Colorado and we spent 3 or 4 weeks cutting out construction paper, and we did this little thing called the Spirit of Christmas.
Behold my glory.
Holy it's Jesus!
The primitive 5-minute cartoon featured an epic battle between Jesus and Santa Claus over control of the holiday, as witnessed by a group of young boys that would eventually become the South Park Kids.
Help me put an end to him once and for all. No, boys, help me. Stan, remember the choo-choo when you were 3? I died for your sins, boys. Don't forget that.
The video became an underground sensation. Bootleg copies circulated all over the country and ended up in the VCR machines of entertainment executives in LA, New York, and London.
that became so huge. I mean, it really was so viral before YouTube and all that. All of a sudden, people wanted to meet us more. And we got meetings everywhere all of a sudden. And people were like, okay, what do you want to do?
They eventually signed a contract to produce 6 episodes of a cartoon show based on the spirit of Christmas for a fledgling cable network called Comedy Central. The show was named South Park after a real place in a remote stretch of Colorado where Trey Parker says strange things always seem to happen.
South Park was where everyone, growing up, all the stories would come where like, oh, did you hear they found another UFO? There's been all these cattle mutilations, and it was like, where? South Park.
Their version of South Park would become a creative petri dish to examine and parody all the truly weird things going on in the adult world of America, as seen through the eyes of 4 elementary schoolboys who try to make sense of it all.
We used to talk about All in the Family, and we were big fans of All in the Family, and we were, in the time of the early 90s, we were kind of sitting there going, you know, a show like that couldn't be on the air right now. You couldn't do it because things are so PC. You couldn't have an Archie Bunker. And we used to talk about how, you know, if Archie Bunker was 8 years old, I bet you could do it.
By the way, children, there's a walkout scheduled today to protest the war in Iraq. So if you're against the war, run along outside. And if you're for the war, stay here and we'll do math problems.
A common device is to drop the kids in the middle of some explosive situation and surround them with extremes on all sides of an issue.
Here you go, boys. These will help you protest. Tom Stoutzel, HBC News. Can you tell me why you kids marched out of school today?
War?
Hey, all you un-American bastards! If you don't like America, why don't you get out?
The show regularly takes on race and bigotry.
Category is people who annoy you. Audience, keep quiet, please.
Well, I know it, but I don't think I should say it.
In this episode, one of the boys' father makes an embarrassing appearance on Wheel of Fortune.
Huh? Oh.
Ooh.
Oh, naggers, of course.
And then there was this on the financial crisis.
How can I help you, young man?
I got a $100 check from my grandma, and my dad said I need to put it in the bank so it can grow over the years.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that check in a money market mutual fund. Then we'll reinvest the earnings into foreign currency accounts with compounding interest, and it's gone.
What?
It's gone. It's all gone.
What's all gone?
The money in your account. It didn't do too well. It's gone.
What do you mean? I have $100.
Not anymore, you don't. Poof.
It's worth reminding the uninitiated viewer that we're showing you sanitized scenes suitable for network television, not the cable, movie, or DVD versions in which the dialogue can be scatological as well as philosophical and every bit as profane as it is profound. But it is usually pitch perfect to anyone who has spent time around 10-year-olds aspiring to be adolescents.
I'll bet if you eavesdropped on a bunch of fourth graders today, the language would be pretty close to what you hear on South Park.
I think we talked like this when I was in 4th and 5th grade. You know, you learn those.
We
bad
did.
words
That was
and
a con. I
you
remember
just know
us
how to
saying-
shut it off when the adults were around.
Yeah, and it was like let's do a show where kids talk the way kids talk.
Right.
Because at the time we were, just out of college, like we remember, And
Maybe that's when we were young enough to remember when we started. Now we're remembering.
Perhaps the most remarkable thing about Parker and Stone is that over the past 15 years, they have written, directed, and voiced the major characters in every scene of more than 200 episodes of South Park.
Then why did you lie about not seeing Clyde Frog the night he died?
I know that I'm awesome and cool, Polly Prissy Pants.
Their typical week begins on Thursday in this LA conference room with a blank storyboard and a brainstorming session that includes executive producer Ann Garofino and 2 staff writers.
And you have like a typical, Cartman comes in.
They have 6 days to deliver a completed episode to Comedy Central that will air the following Wednesday.
Okay. All right.
That usually involves 5, 10 to 12-hour days and one all-nighter. As soon as they have an idea for a scene, Parker will sit down and bang it out, then hand it off to the animators, and if necessary, to the lawyers.
We have probably more freedom than anyone in television. We have for a long time. But we do still, at the end of the day, have
Legal.
lawyers, we have legal.
One of the touchiest episodes was about Scientology, a notoriously litigious group. Parker and Stone wanted to include a scene dealing with tabloid rumors that Tom Cruise, its most famous member, was secretly gay.
And actually the joke was just, okay, we're going to have Tom Cruise show up, and he's flamboyantly gay and whatever. Like, yeah, but you can't say he's gay. And it's like, okay, but we can say he's like closeted gay. And like, no, you really can't say that either. And we're like, and then it just became this thing of like, what if he's literally in a closet? And they're like, yeah, you can do that.
Hey! Dad! Tom Cruise won't come out of the closet!
Mr. Cruz? Mr. Cruz, come out of the closet.
Tom, it's Nicole. You don't need to be in that closet anymore, Tom.
Tom, it's John Travolta. Tom, you gotta come out of the closet. Oh my God.
Their politics are indecipherable but tending towards libertarian. They don't carry water for anyone, don't do market research, and their only target audience is each other. If something makes them both laugh, it ends up in the show.
So how do you describe this relationship?
At this point, it's kind of like a marriage, in the way that we're just been together so long. We spend so much time together You can almost finish each other's sentences.
And it's funny because we're just at that level now where it just doesn't happen anymore that one of us can say to the other, you know, one time I was doing this. Because it's like, yeah, I know, I was there.
The foundation of their relationship is one of the strongest partnerships I've ever seen in any business.
Ann Garofino and Scott Rudin know them as well as anyone and have been with them since the very beginning. Garofino is the executive producer of South Park, and Rudin is the entertainment mogul who launched their film careers. Both produced the Broadway musical.
Sometimes I've seen people try and triangulate one against the other. You know, you see people try to get between them. They shut it down so fast. They have each other's backs in the absolute best possible way. And it doesn't mean they don't disagree, because they frequently disagree, but they are genuinely a partnership.
Garofino believes that Matt Stone is the more ruthless of the two when it comes to satire, and that Trey is softer with a sweet sense of humor that provides the charm. We wanted to know what they thought of that analysis.
That Ann's pretty smart.
Ann's a bitch.
See, that was the opposite. Right? That was really nice.
We're just proving the opposite.
Boy, that Trey's ruthless.
And she's fired.
I believe that the Lord God created the universe. I believe that he sent his...
There's no doubt that sharp teeth and a big heart are the foundation of their success, and both qualities are evident in the Book of Mormon, which manages to ridicule the silliness of religious dogma while still being uplifting and pro-faith.
And a Mormon just believes.
It sounds like the setup for a joke. At an illustrious Ivy League university famous for taking itself seriously, one student magazine staff devotes itself to publishing parody, pulling pranks, and causing general mayhem. Yet here's the punchline. 142 years after its founding, the Harvard Lampoon remains as relevant as ever, the wellspring of so much comedy in America today. Over the years, the Lampoon has changed in some ways. A longtime male preserve, 3 of its last 5 presidents have been women. In other ways, it's stayed true to its roots, poking fun at the powerful, including the current occupant of the Oval Office, the recent victim of a sly Lampoon prank. While their straight-laced and straight-faced classmates may aspire to become Supreme Court justices, hedge fund titans, and curers of cancer, for a core group of Harvard undergrads, the Lampoon offers vocational training for careers as comedy writers. We got a rare glimpse inside the place this winter and caught up with some of the Lampoon's cast of characters, past and present. A winter night in Cambridge, Massachusetts. As the temperature drops, a line of undergraduates forms outside the castle at 44 Bow Street. This is the headquarters of the Harvard Lampoon, part comedy magazine, part secret society. And these students want in. Akin to rushing a fraternity, the pledges are called compers for the competencies they'll have to demonstrate before landing a spot on the magazine staff and literally scoring keys to the castle.
Come on, compers, right up.
The first test, can they make their upperclassmen judges laugh?
Make room for the cameraman, please.
Our cameras were invited into the castle library to watch upperclassmen put compers on the spot. And right off the bat, Lampoon staffers seized the opportunity to poke fun at us, too. Using a fake microphone, they subjected compers to spoof TV news interviews.
Action. So, in the 4th grade...
Prodding them to tell their best stories and playfully reminding them of our presence.
30 minutes, I had a bottle of whipped cream with me. Wait, 30 minutes or 60 minutes? It's a good...
But the real criteria for admission here, applicants must be funny on paper. They submit 6 pieces of humor writing to be critiqued by Lampoon members, including Liana Spiro, the current Lampoon president.
It's a whole semester of writing comedy and then having other people earnestly read it and spend a lot of time, telling you what they think about it. I believe in it strongly. I think people are funnier by the end.
But only the funniest survive. Out of about 100 pledges last semester, 6 compers made the cut. The semester before that, only 3. The initiated will see their name on the masthead of the Harvard Lampoon, an eclectic periodical full of original illustrations and niche advertising. One recent issue on the theme Just Friends, those 2 words no college kid ever wants to hear, includes a dialogue piece on chance encounters, a comic about phone etiquette, and, in a typical random beat, an ode to TV meteorologists. The Lampoon is published 5 times a year, with a circulation barely extending beyond Harvard's gates. Members are under no illusions about the magazine's impact.
There's a sense here that we are writing the magazine for ourselves and that no one is reading it. And that, I think, actually is one of the most beautiful things about the Lampoon, that we feel like no one is watching and we can just dance however we want.
You're doing this for yourself, not the kid across the hall or the kid at the dining hall.
Yeah, we could print, 5 copies of the magazine and it would still be worthwhile, and I think everyone would still be here just as much, trying to be just as funny.
Officially, members major in everything at Harvard from math to poetry, but the Lampoon is their real area of concentration. Take Alice Jew, philosophy student and former Lampoon president. What percent of your time here at Harvard is devoted to Lampoon versus regular schoolwork?
Like 99% Lampoon, and then 1% sleep, I guess, and then 0% regular schoolwork.
I'm sure your parents are pleased to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, they've already given up. So I have a younger sister who will be doing all the right things while I do this.
Most aspire to a career in comedy, and the Lampoon serves as their first writer's room. Just as iron sharpens iron, you might say that here, irony sharpens irony. The Lampoon has a rich history of deploying that irony in special edition parodies of other publications. Name a popular magazine and be assured it's been the victim of a Lampoon send-up. This parody of Cosmo, complete with Henry Kissinger's centerfold, endures as a classic in the genre. Their latest is an absurdist parody of Harvard's daily student newspaper, The Crimson. But that's just the physical product.
I love that.
Pranks. Cooking them up and then carrying them out are as much a part of the Lampoon tradition as actual humor writing. Lampoon staff invited us to see how it's done. We watched as they fanned out across campus, taking that parody issue and scheming to swap it out with the real Crimson. It's a kind of thing they live for.
Great.
Perfect. For decades, the Crimson has been the butt of Lampoon hijinks. Liana Spiro's crowning achievement so far: when Mark Zuckerberg returned to Harvard to give a commencement address, she hacked into the Crimson's website.
And we wrote up hundreds of these fake headlines about Mark Zuckerberg in the silliest comedic tone possible, extremely dumb. Basically, the crux of the humor was just changing his name to Mink Zinkeltonk, over and over again.
Our amusement went unshared by the Harvard Crimson. How upset were they?
They were fairly upset. My roommate actually is on the Crimson, and this was the only time that she really was upset at me. She had worked weeks on a very long piece, 10,000 words, about some corner of Harvard's administration, and then I had worked 2 hours on some headlines about Mink Zinkeltonk, and but I'm super pro pranking them all the time.
Every once in a while, the Lampoon will pull off a prank so bold, it achieves comic glory. And Tom Waddick, currently a senior, may have set the new standard. This one started late one night. Waddick recruited some Lampoon conspirators to break into the Crimson headquarters and steal the paper's famous president's chair. It was the summer of 2015, and Donald Trump had just announced he was going to run for president. Pretending to represent the Crimson, Waddick contacted the Trump campaign and offered up the student newspaper's endorsement. Would Mr. Trump like to pose for the accompanying photo in the Crimson's chair?
They say this seems like something that Mr. Trump would be very interested in.
Waddick and crew raced from Harvard to Manhattan and parked a few blocks from Trump Tower. They lugged the chair in a freight elevator and made it to the 25th floor.
By the way, the chair's about 150, 200 pounds, so it takes 2 or 3 people to carry it anywhere.
With an eye on the chair, Trump welcomed students he believed to be Crimson editors.
It was very nice. He had his hair fixed.
While you were there?
We were there. They had sort of hairspray and combed it over and stuff, and he said, "People don't think my hair is real, but you can all testify this is very real."
Once the cosmetics were complete, it was time to capture the moment.
So he said, "Everyone do the thumbs up." So we're all doing his sort of signature thumbs up around him, and I was just like, "We got it."
Not quite. A few days later, as he was preparing to publish the endorsement, Waddick received a call from Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen. The Trump campaign realized they'd been had.
He says, "I'm going to come up to Harvard. You're all going to get expelled if this photo gets out. You'll be out of that school faster than you know it. I can be up there tomorrow.
What's that like?
It was terrifying. He asked me to send my Harvard ID so he could have my identity, my information.
Did you send it?
And I sent it right away. I was so afraid that if I didn't, he might actually be crazy enough to fly up here. And
the Trump campaign never did follow up. The Crimson, good sports that they are, published the story of the prank later that summer, complete with photo. And with that, Tom Waddick and company gained a measure of Lampoon immortality, which is saying something given the alumni rolls. Early generations count everyone from William Randolph Hearst to George Plimpton to John Updike.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
The modern era produced Conan O'Brien and Colin Jost, currently co-anchor of Weekend Update for Saturday Night Live.
Good evening. Hi.
But most Lampoon stars are not stars at all. David Mandel, class of '92, has written for shows from SNL to Seinfeld. He's currently the showrunner for HBO's Veep.
Veep!
Emmy winner for Outstanding Comedy Series, 3 years running.
This is for chubby Jews from the Upper West Side.
What made you want to join the Lampoon?
The building. You can't help but notice it. You see a lot of other organizations, you go to a lot of other meetings, and there's this one place that happens to have a castle, and it definitely hits you.
It's hard to overstate the importance of the castle. Built in 1909 in a style described as mock Flemish, whatever that means, the exterior almost winks at you, foreshadowing farce. And inside, the Great Hall, site of Lampoon parties so legendary, movies have been made about them. In real life, the Great Hall, along with most of the castle, is strictly off limits to non-members. Our cameras weren't permitted anywhere but the library, no matter how many times we asked. We did, however, track down the unofficial godfather of the place. Jim Downey, class of '74, cuts a mythical figure within Harvard Lampoon circles.
The centerfold.
The guy responsible for that Kissinger centerfold fondly recalls his late nights at the castle.
We thought it was the funniest thing on earth to pointlessly put the word frankly into any answer to a question. So it could be like, what bus goes up 10th Avenue? Frankly, the M11. Or what planet has the most eccentric orbit? Frankly, Mercury. Okay, you're laughing.
Downey made a career of mining humor from the mundane. Frankly, he's also written some of the most enduring political satire of the last 40 years.
To sum up in a single word, the best argument for his candidacy. Governor Bush? Strategery.
For decades, Downey's sketches cold opened Saturday Night Live. Yet ask Jim Downey about his most memorable moment in comedy, and he harkens back to January of 1974, when he and the Lampoon invited John Wayne to campus, and it became news.
The Lampoon challenged conservative Wayne to come to Harvard.
Wayne not only accepted, he rode through town on a tank that Downey and accomplices had borrowed from a nearby military installation.
You still recall the party that night?
It's traditional for people to get up and dance on the table, and Wayne was right up there with didn't have to be coaxed.
Downey's most lasting contribution, he opened an employment pipeline, hiring and referring countless Lampoon alumni who now fill writers' rooms at shows from Curb Your Enthusiasm to Silicon Valley. Al Jean, class of '81, came through the Downey pipeline and now runs The Simpsons, the longest-running comedy in television history. Half his writing staff is former Lampoon. So it is that more than a few subversive references to their alma mater make their way into Simpsons episodes.
I'm in! I bet I'll get a little respect once I get that Harvard diploma.
I'll be honest, I read scripts to hire people, and I'll read a script and I'll go, oh, that's great. And then I'll look at the background of the person and I'll go, oh no, Lampoon. I didn't want to hire another
Why oh
Lampoon.
no?
Well, because I want the show to be much more diverse.
You're not actively seeking out Lampoon alumni?
Never actively.
We found a motley crew when we visited the castle last May. But the Lampoon pipeline to TV writers' rooms has been called a mafia, one that favors Lampoon alumni to the exclusion of more diverse voices.
When alumni come back, they're almost all men. Sometimes they all feel like clones of each other. It's like white men of varying ages who are into comedy. And you just feel like none of these people look like me.
What do we do about that?
I think just like saying to the world that we have noticed that we're not diverse and that we aren't happy with that and want to change could do a lot.
Back in Hollywood, David Mandel is watching and reading this current generation. He has 2 pieces of sage advice.
Make me laugh. That's all I care about. Make me laugh. Is it funny? And then just kind of hoping that the undergrads don't burn the place down.
You're carrying the torch now. Your job is not to burn down this place.
Yes.
Can you handle that challenge?
Well, the fire alarm has gone off 4 times in the last year, so that would indicate perhaps no. But the Lampoon is still standing, so we'll see.